Message from Starfleet Command, top priority.
You are listening to the TrekRanks podcast, a member of the Tricorder Transmissions Podcast Network. This is episode 149, featuring the top 5 scenes at a table. Welcome, Star Trek fans. I am Jim Moorhouse. I'm the host of the TrekRanks podcast, and tonight, pull up a chair for the always exciting return of our Scenes in Trek series. I cannot wait for this one. This is a definitive TrekRanks topic that you are about to hear. Tonight, we are doing our top 5 scenes at a table, and honestly, as goofy as that might sound the first time you hear it, I'm not sure there's too many topics that I've been more excited for recently. I love our Scenes in Trek. This is our 13th one that we're doing, so I think this might be a fun one, and we'll talk in a minute about what scenes at a table might mean to everyone in a second. But first, let's introduce our amazing guest tonight. First up tonight, she is joining our 10-time guest host squadron, one of our favorites, hailing us from the deep space LA by way of the Wyoming Expanse. It's Charlynn Schmiedt. Charlynn.
That is indeed me. Hello. Thanks for having me back 10 times.
10
wow.
times. I think
awesome.
There's like 5 or 6 people now in the 10-time club.
Ooh.
All right.
Club.
Yeah. A club you don't want to be a part of. All right.
I disagree, sir.
Our other guest tonight is hailing us via a temporal subspace fissure from the Australian corridor. It's tomorrow where he is back for his 6th appearance on TrekRanks. It's Jamie McGregor.
Hey, Jim. Thank you very much for inviting me on. Number 6, future 10-time, I'm hoping. Well, we'll see how I perform tonight.
All right. Well, it's all about that scheduling, man. It's all about that figuring out that temporal causality from the Australian corridor. All right, shut up. It's going to be a great show. Let's get into our TrekRanks recalibration.
What are you recalibrating? Everything. It's a sweeping, a recalibration of all systems.
As regular listeners will know by now, general order number 1 of the TrekRanks charter is that we love Trek, we love to rank Trek via some deep dive topics just to get the conversation started. Remember, it's not about the ranks. That's just our excuse to talk about Star Trek.
But what is that Vulcan motto? Infinite diversity.
In infinite combinations.
And what is diversity? A celebration of differences.
And as T'Pol and Dr. Phlox just said, in a scene at a table, TrekRanks is basically just a big old celebration of differences. There are no wrong answers at TrekRanks. T'Pol and Dr. Phlox were sitting at a table when they said that. All right, no wrong answers. Not about being right or definitive in any way. It's about sharing the things we love about Trek, and we love it all from TOS to TNG, straight through the Enterprise and the Kelvin timeline, and now Discovery, Picard, Strange New Worlds, Short Treks, Lower Decks, and Prodigy. It's all fair game here on the TrekRanks podcast.
Black alert. Black alert.
And a reminder that this episode of TrekRanks is current through the Star Trek Prodigy first season episode Preludes, which is the 869th episode of Star Trek. And one final reminder, we use episodes as a shorthand term, but the 13 films are always in play as well.
Have boosted power to the communications bandwidth.
We appreciate that, Mr. Kim. And you can find TrekRanks on Subspace at TrekRanks.com. You can contact me directly on Twitter at TrekRanks or at Enterprise Extra. And you can also call and leave us a message with your own picks at 609-512-LLAP. That's 609-512-5527. Okay, Shar and Jamie, to wrap it up, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you on Subspace. Shar, I need to hear this now because you're no longer on Twitter, as are so many of our friends.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was a very tough decision, but the whole security thing, like the whole staff leaving, that was it for me. That was beyond man baby buffoonery billionaire shenanigans. So the best place to find me right now is on Mastodon, and you can find me at the profanity at 10forward.social there. And if you want to hear me talk more Trek, the best place right now is at Roddenberry Entertainment. I do Mission Log Live on occasion. I'm their pinch hitter. And I'm also on Mission Log Prodigy now, every now and again, talking about that show as the new episodes come out.
We love it every time you show up there. And Jamie, how about you?
Yes, you can interact with the Russian hacker impersonating me on Twitter at jmac_ref. And let's see what they have to say about various Star Trek political and rugby issues. I can't wait to find out.
Perfect. Amazing. All right. We are ready to activate our level 1 diagnostic to get into this show.
Run a level 1 diagnostic series. Come.
So really quick, everyone knows the drill by now. We love our scenes and Trek. So we're going to go through our roll call here of our previous 12 topics just because I love to do it. We've done scenes in a turbolift, shuttlecraft, Jeffrey's tube, brig, on location, in a cave, in sickbay, on Earth, in a corridor, scenes on a cliff, top 5 fight scenes, and the last one we did was scenes in engineering. And tonight we're doing top 5 scenes at a table. I wonder how many scenes you could pick. What scene could you pick that hits the most of those 13 topics? That would be a fun thing to figure out. That would be a fun thing to figure out. Okay. Anyway, so before we get into our Prime
Directives, scenes in an atmosphere coming soon to TrekRanks.
Oh my God, I'm writing that down. That's a good one. Ship in Atmo. I love it. Oh, it doesn't have to be a ship. It could be a space jump. All right, shut up. Here we go. Before we get into our Prime Directives, I want to say that for the longest time we had scenes in a ready room or on an observation deck. That was on our long list. But at some point in the last few months, someone joked about scenes in a table, and I realized that's the equation. That one will be way more fun than ready room or observation. So that's what we're doing. We'll probably never do those topics now that we've done scenes at a table, which is super wide open, depending on how you do your Prime Directive. As Jamie already said when we were prepping, basically every episode of Star Trek has a scene in a table. I'm pretty sure you could probably find one. Okay. But like I said, the Prime Directive is going to be kind of wide open. Like, do you have to be seated at a table? Can you just be in the vicinity of a table? What is even a table? Looking at you, Schisms? Was that a table? I don't think that was a table.
So I wasn't the only one who thought of that.
Exactly. Well, that one, it came up last week on the show and we previewed it. So I'm sure it'll come up at some point. So all of that is to say, this episode is going to be awesome. So let's get into our Prime Directive.
But what you're proposing is exactly the kind of tampering the Prime Directive prohibits.
Okay, Char, we're going to start with you. How did you break it all down and finalize your picks?
Well, like you said, this is a wide open topic filled with possibilities. I mean, like a whole bunch of possibilities came to mind before I even did a lick of research. Right. So I decided I needed some ground rules. I limited myself a little bit and I decided no conference room scenes. Yes, they're at a table, but yeah, that's its own thing. You could do that topic, Jim.
It's amazing. We're going to be opposites. This is great.
Oh, nice. Great. Hopefully no duplicates then.
Yeah.
Also, my second rule is people must be sitting at the table, not hovering or standing near it.
Correct. We're the same on that one.
Cool.
Okay, that was it. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. I'm so excited. Jamie, how about you? So let's recap Char's. No conference rooms, and the people have to be seated at the table. I love this.
Yes.
Jamie, what do you got?
Okay, so I looked at this and went. I did the same thing in the sense of I had to give myself some ground rules because, as you said, Jim, thank you for inviting me on a TrekRanks that has a possibility in literally every episode of Star Trek to think through. So narrowing this down was a little tricky, but I've made a distinction between a table and a desk. So I'm not picking anything that's kind of like at a work desk, I think.
Okay.
So it's got to be kind of like a table. I eliminated my previous picks in TrekRanks, which I discovered that I have a number of table-adjacent picks previously on TrekRanks. So I put them aside. And I've avoided gambling scenes because I was on the gambling show. And I've kind of also, with one exception, avoided scenes where people were eating because I was kind of like, I could pick every episode of Enterprise, for example. There are great scenes where they're eating. And I also eliminated medical scenes because you could be on like a medical table and you could be operated on or something like that. I just needed to kind of reduce the number of options out there. And I am proud to say that my first two picks feature table destruction.
Oh my
wow,
God.
cool.
Oh my God. I cannot wait. I have no table destruction in my picks, so I think we're gonna have no duplicates. So mine's pretty similar to yours, Jamie. I decided I'm gonna have no dining scenes, so no meals, no games or like cards, so no gambling. I forgot you were on that gambling show. Yeah. And I had everybody has to be seated at the table. There has to be people seated at the table for the key part of the scene. And I also really wanted to make sure the scene had a really big impact. And the table was like kind of like part of it, not necessarily, it didn't have to be there, but I want the table to be maybe somebody's pounding it, or I don't know, or there's the table has a part to play in all my picks.
Cool.
So yeah, so this is gonna be great. This is going to be awesome. I mean, I know I'm excited about every episode of TrekRanks, but I am extra giddy for this episode. So let's do it. First, Kadekaton, introduce us to the new order of things.
It'll be alphas like us that determine the future of this quadrant. That will be the new order of things.
Thank you, First Kadekaton. As always, a quick reminder on how we're going to go through the order of things. First, everyone will start with their 5-word summary and a hashtag to tease their pick. Then we'll each reveal our top 5 scenes at a table and the specific reasons for highlighting it. And of course, we'll ask everyone for a few secondary system selections for the picks that just missed our list when we're all done. And as always, if we have any duplicate picks, make sure you listen for the Defiant Torpedoes. I think that's going to be the last time we hear those. I'm calling it right now. Okay, Shar, let's start with you. What's your number 5 pick for your top 5 scenes at a table?
Okay, my 5 words are 37 languages, no big deal. Hashtag dress uniform hazing. This is from Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Children of the Comet, where we get to know Cadet Uhura.
Oh my God, this is the best pick.
This was a very last minute pick.
Yes.
But it is at a table. I was thinking of so many scenes at a table, and I thought, oh my gosh, that scene in Strange New Worlds really stood out. I got to get that in there somehow.
It's so good. I love it.
Yeah, I picked this one because it's interesting that we never really knew much of Uhura's backstory until this scene, and it's been 50-something years. We did not know that she lost her parents and her brother. We did not know that her grandmother served in Starfleet. So I thought that's really significant. Also, it's just nice seeing our main characters in civilian clothing, well, most of them, and enjoying a dinner together. It's a nice kind of, it's not a relaxed scene, but yeah.
And plus you have that moment with Pike when he asks her about what do you want to do, what are you going to be doing in 5 years, and he kind of, and he realizes what he's going to be doing in 5 or 7 years. And oh my God, this scene is awesome.
Right. His world is closing in and hers is so wide open she doesn't even know what to do because she's so brilliant.
And this is the start of also, we didn't really know it at the time, but this is the beginning of Uhura's the focal point of the entire season. They're having her work with all the different departments. She's the key in all these episodes, and you know all the way to the end with the death of Hemmer and her deciding to stay in Starfleet. And this is the beginning of that. It is, like you said, it's the first time we learn anything about Uhura. Fantastic. Jamie, what's your take?
Couldn't agree more. Great pick and a brilliant scene. One of the first scenes that kind of made me sit and go, I am going to like Strange New Worlds.
Yes, right.
This is because I think there was a lot of nervousness from a lot of the fans about, oh, okay, we're getting all of these characters that we kind of know and love back, and we're getting new versions of them. And we'd already been through that once with the JJ universe, and now it's kind of like, how are we gonna experience this, another time around? And I think this scene was one of the ones that kind of laid some of those fears to rest, which is to say, this is going to be phenomenal, and we're going to find out more about our these characters that we know and love, without it's just going to be added value rather than we're not going to take anything away from what has come before. And the other thing I'd say about this scene is it also gives us a bit of insight into Pike's command style, which is something we don't really have anything from the original series, but sets beautifully up the season and Pike's command style for the rest of the season and hopefully for the rest of the show.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, perfect summary. And it is really the moment when you're kind of like, oh my God, I think I love this show. Because the first episode, the pilot, it's always a little bit different. It's a pilot, they're there's certain things, boxes they have to check. But this is the start of the second episode. Oh, so good. Love it. Okay, Jamie, what's your number 5 pick?
Okay, my 5 words. Dak's grief is Decorator's nightmare. Hashtag all the way. It is DS9's Image in the Sand, and it is Worf in Vic Fontaine's lounge, listening to Jimmy Darren singing all the way, and then getting angrier and angrier, and then standing up and destroying the table directly in front of him in frustration as he kind of works his way through his grief. So this being my pick, I'm always going to try and shoehorn something from Vic Fontaine's world in whenever I can. But I think this was the writers doing the same thing. So a bit of an unusual decision to put Worf into Vic Fontaine's world, but they do so in the absolute most Worf way possible, which is have him trash the joint. And I just love that. Of course, this is setting up the great quest to get Jadzia's place in Sto-vo-kor. And I picked this because I really do, looking back, I remember reading some comments from Ira Bear saying, look, a lot of fans just look at these song moments and think, oh, no, another boring song, we're wasting time here. But he said that the song selection was very careful and always use the lyrics of the songs and what the songs are doing to further the characterization of the individual. And in this particular case, I think it works well. Worf needed to work something out, and other than Vic Fontaine's, other than the furniture around Vic Fontaine's lounge, it was he had to go on a mission to get Jadzia to Sto-vo-kor, and I think that was it's a phenomenal start to season 7, and I love it. So there you go. That's my pick.
What do you say we hit the crap tables, huh? Or maybe some blackjack to get the blood pumping?
Sing the song.
I don't think that's such a good idea.
Sing the song.
Come on, Pally. Why rub salt in an open wound?
You are a hologram. You are programmed to do as I say. Sing the song.
It's your dime. Park it right there. And don't say I didn't warn you. Which reminds me of a story Joey once told me.
Sing!
Son of a gun. I think he means it. Hey, you heard the man.
Right up your alley, too, with your love of Vic Fontaine. This is an awesome pick. I mean, that table is not long for this world, because Worf really does do a number on it when he loses it. This is an awesome pick. Scene at a table, Worf sitting, lamenting, mourning, and then crushing a table into bits in front of Vic Fontaine. I love it. Charlynn, anything?
Yeah. It's a great way of making the table a subject in the scene, where it's not just, oh, we're sitting at a table. No, we're destroying the table and mashing it to bits. Very good pick.
This is a quintessential, you can pick anything pick, because I never would have thought of this one, but I love it. Worf smash with the table. Okay, let's...
Only one of my first 2 table destruction picks, too.
That's right. You have 2. I can't wait for number 4.
All right,
now
more to come.
Need to try and guess what it could be. Okay, number 5 for me. This one has come up a few times recently on TrekRanks. I tried to keep it off my list, look for some more deep cut options, which I have a lot of, but in the end, this one's too iconic. It's the quintessential Trek-defining scene at a table, and it's my number 5 pick. It had to be, and Jamie, we talked about it on that gambling show, 5 words and a hashtag. That's why we're aboard her. Out there. Hashtag. And that's why we're sitting at this table. It is Kirk and the crew discussing Sargon's offer in TOS Return to Tomorrow. And this is the Star Trek moment, right? Kirk explains the potential for knowledge and risk is our business. That's what this starship is all about. That's why we're aboard her. It's really just an amazing emotional everything, with the speech from DC Fontana, who wrote this script, and the music swells, and convincing Kirk convincing McCoy and Scotty to go along with it. It's just it's fantastic. Also, I knew I had to have at least one 3-sided monitor on the table in my 5 picks, and so this is it. I love those 3-sided monitors in TOS. So no way I wasn't picking one of those. Iconic piece of set dressing. They used to say if a man could fly, he'd have wings. But he did fly. He discovered he had to. I could keep going, but that's it. It's Sargon. It's Kirk's speech about Sargon. Billy Sanhanek.
Risk is our business. That's what the Starship is all about. That's why we're aboard her.
Jamie, what's your take?
I knew you were going to pick this scene. Is all I'm going to say. That is after seeing you act it out in Vegas. I'm like, I actually played it. I played the episode last night in preparation for this, and I was like, man, this is great. This is just a classic. And they're all there, right? They're all sitting at the table. They're all listening. It's just it's phenomenal. And it's on my secondary systems next to the note, Jim will pick this.
And I really did try not to pick it. I tried not to. I mean, up until like 30 minutes ago, I was like, I got a couple other TOSs. And I was like, no, I got to do it. Return it tomorrow.
Do it.
Charlynn, any quick take on this one?
What more to add? It's an iconic scene. So I'm really glad it's on somebody's list. And yeah, I hate to say it, I did not think about it.
Oh, wow. That's
I didn't.
Definitely the first one I thought of. So, but hey, I'm hoping you're going to have some good Voyager picks too. So, and speaking of which, round 4, Charlynn, what's your number 4 pick?
My 5 words are dare you to do better, #enlist. It's from Star Trek 2009. Pike recruits Kirk at the bar.
Did not. Oh my
yes,
God.
I did.
I love this. This is like the best scene at a table.
Wow.
There's some really pivotal scenes in this movie, and in my opinion, this is one of them because Pike sees the potential in Kirk, and he dangles the carrot just enough to where Kirk can't refuse the opportunity. Like he pulled that off to perfection.
But the most memorable thing about this scene for me is how much it sparked my interest in this film because it was in the trailer. And it was just so well done in the trailer. It's like, your father was, captain of a starship for 7 minutes, saved 400 lives. I dare you to do better. I mean, this is, wow, what a freaking pick. I did not think of this one. This absolutely 100% is iconic Trek scene at a table. I love this pick. Jamie, what's your take on Star Trek 2009?
That's great. I mean, it sets the whole movie up, doesn't it, in the right way? And we've been blessed with some amazing Christopher Pikes, haven't we? And Bruce Greenwood certainly is right up there. And I think he does a brilliant job portraying that particular role in his own way. And this scene, it makes the rest of. I mean, there is something a little. How do I put it? Yeah, if I get nitpicky, Jim will throw me off the show. So I mean, there's a little. Kirk's meteoric rise is a little odd, but when you see the motivation, that is set up, when you see the motivation that is set up here in this particular scene, you kind of get, okay, here we go. And anyway, no, this is a great pick. I love this scene.
Yeah, and again, part of the trailer, just again knowing you're going to have Pike, you get to see some more Pike. Like at that point, we'd only seen Pike in the cage and the menagerie. Yeah, this is an awesome pick. And you can hear all about Kirk's meteoric rise in our epic arcs, in which I picked the Kelvin timeline Kirk, who that story made perfect sense across those 3 movies. It was awesome. Okay, let's go to, that's a great pick, Shark.
Thanks.
Jamie, what's your number 4 pick?
Okay, table destruction number 2. My 5 words are tribe, trabe, treaty, trap, trope. #early Janeway's false step. And this is the Kazon truce attempt in Voyager's alliances that results in the destruction of the meeting room and the table around which the various different Kazon and the Trabe were meeting to try and work out a treaty. And it's one of my favorite scenes, of course, because of the famous Netflix fanfare.
That has ruined it for me. I mean, I gotta be honest.
No,
I always think about it now.
It's so good because I mean, I was thinking about, okay, let's think about tables. What happens around tables? People come to a meeting of the minds. People come to agreements. People hash out their differences. People, this is what Star Trek is all about, right? And I wanted one where we had a treaty or we had an agreement or we had something determined. And I got a couple of my secondary systems around that as well. But I thought, let's go for one where it didn't work out. Janeway goes in thinking that this is the right thing to do. She knows something's up. But and look, it's not the world's greatest episode. I'm happy to happy to say that. But it's good. It's actually a lot better than I think a lot of people remember.
I think it's a great episode. The setup for it with the attack, I think it's awesome.
And we're busy facilitating peace, and of course someone's double crossed everyone, and just when the table starts shaking and. Anyway, I just love the ship that appears at the window. A bit of a trope, also from also seen in Kelvin Timeline.
That's right.
Yep.
And I'm sure they borrowed that entirely from Alliances.
They had no idea.
And anyway, that table goes up in laser beams.
I was about to say this is a little bit more than Worf just breaking the table. The whole room goes up.
Yes.
Charlynn, Alliances. I definitely thought about this one. This is a great pick.
Oh, I didn't. I'm so glad that you did, though.
I would say, actually, in my mind, I was like, Char's going to pick this one. So I'm glad you did.
No, I didn't even think about it, but your reasoning for your rationale for picking it is so good. I'm kind of kicking myself in the head right now. Like, how come you didn't think of that? For one, it's Voyager. And then two, this is a pretty important scene certainly in this episode, but maybe even of like the earlier years with the whole Kazon arc. Duh.
I do like the fact that right at the crucial moment, once Janeway realizes that she's been had, she beams, themselves and the Trabe up and leave the Kazon there to be destroyed. And that is my favorite part of that scene. And yes, it has an explanation, which is, they would have prepared the beam out thinking that it was actually going to be the Kazon that were going to double cross them. But I just like the fact that the Kazon were kind of left there. Anyway, there you go. It's a good episode. Alliances, I like it. There you go.
I love this. I love this episode. It's a great pick. And just for anybody wondering what we were talking about, for the longest time on Netflix, a version of this episode was uploaded, so you could watch it if you're watching it on Netflix. As they introduce all the Kazon, there's like some kind of music.
Jim, you insert audio in these shows. We know what's coming. We know what's coming.
I'm not. Oh, maybe I will do it. It's still on YouTube somewhere. This version. But I just remember watching it on Netflix and be like, what the hell is going on here?
Surrot of the straw.
And there's the cheer too. Everyone cheers. This invisible crowd.
Yeah, right. There's like cheering. It's like something out of like Robin Hood or something. Someone needs to figure out why that existed and who did it. Who's the engineer that uploaded that? Okay, let's close out round 4. This is an iconic location that I knew was going to be on my list. 5 words and a hashtag. Did Jarok die for nothing? Hashtag. No doubt. It is the Defector from TNG Season 3, and it's that initial conference room scene with Picard, Riker, Data, Geordi, and Sub-Lieutenant Cetal, a.k.a. Admiral Jarok. And I love this scene. I always think about it because my favorite part of this is that Cetal's there just like spilling the beans, right? He's telling about all the things that are about to happen with Romulan invasion of Nelvana 3, and just that he doesn't want war. He's doing this for the good of humanity and the Romulans so that they can avoid another conflict. And he's just trying to sell them this whole thing. And of course, Picard, Riker, Data, Geordi, they're not buying it at all. And my favorite moment is at the end when Cetal, Jarok says, basically Picard's like, okay, well, I'm sure you're tired, so let's get you some medical attention and get you to your quarters. And he says, no doubt you will wish to question me further. And Picard just looks at him, no doubt. I love that moment. I love it. Such a classic Picard subtlety, just being in control of all these moments and scenes. Unbelievable acting from Patrick Stewart and James Sloyan, one of the great Trek guest stars.
In 2 days, a fleet of Romulan warbirds will be within striking distance of 15 Federation sectors.
The Federation will not permit that.
Then it is war that we're talking about, isn't it? Destroy the base now, and the threat is over.
Well, I'm sure you are fatigued by your ordeal and you require medical attention. Lieutenant Worf, will you conduct Sub-Lieutenant Seatall to the sickbay? We will attend to your quarters.
No doubt. You will wish to question me further.
No doubt.
I love this. And then, of course, it ends with the moment where they're all getting up from the table and walking out. And like, well, let's go inspect this ship. And it blows up in the window. I love this scene. I love this episode. It's an all-time classic. Char, what's your take on the Defector?
Nice one. I would not have thought of this in a million years, probably, but now that you mention it.
One of 50,000 scenes at a table.
Yeah, the problem with this topic was that assembling a list was not hard. Narrowing it down was.
For sure.
Yeah, very good deep cut, in my opinion.
This is a deep cut. I just love that moment with Picard, no doubt. Jamie, what do you got?
Love the deep cut, and it's your quintessential conference room scene, And,
yes,
and
which I
know Shah stayed away from conference room, but I've got one on my list as well, and I picked it specifically. I was like, you know what? I need a conference room scene that makes me just relax and go, oh, yes. This is what I love about Trek, where we're sitting around the table talking stuff. I have my one later, and this seems to be yours, Jim, and it's a great one. It's got that beautiful moment that you love so much, and it's a great episode. Like, it's a brilliant episode. I think this is a very early, this is like one of the first or second scripts Ron Moore ever wrote for TNG. And you can tell why the writing staff said, let's keep this guy on staff.
Yeah, I think it's the second one behind after The Bonding was his first one.
Right. There you go. That makes sense. But what a great episode.
Yeah, and I'll say that I'm going to have a few more conference room scenes. I love conference room scenes. And actually, I was going to say in my Prime Directive, too, this episode could also just be top 5 conversations. Because for me, all my picks are just conversations. And that's all we're picking. The table's part of it, but it's really just cool Star Trek conversations. Okay.
And now, as I'm sure that somebody out there has said, it's time to pay for the soup.
Round 3, it's the soup round. Charlynn,
right.
What do you got?
Soup sounds good. My 5 words are a long way to go, # the original Klingon. Star Trek 6, the undiscovered country, dinner with the Klingons.
Oh, yes. So this one had to be on somebody's list for sure.
Yeah, this is one I figured if there are duplicates, it's probably going to be this one. But this is one of the most memorable scenes at a table, in my opinion. So I had to put it on my list. The scene sets up the whole rest of the movie, bringing to light both the tension of the present, but then also the promise of what the future could be. What more could you want?
Guess who's coming to dinner? Also, I said a minute ago, I was talking about humanity when I was talking about Seattle, and in my head, I'm thinking of this scene where she's like inalienable human rights. Even the words she uses are basically racist. I love it. Yes, this scene is a no-brainer. One of the all-time best in Trek, really. And it's at a table, and they're
certainly
eating.
At the movies, yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's just, by best, I mean iconic, right? It's just one of the most memorable scenes. Everyone is aware of this one. Jamie, what's your take?
It's so memorable, in fact, that for the soup round, guess what I picked?
Oh.
Soup round. Time for my one exception of my meal.
You have a meal. I was just saying, I thought you weren't having meals. Okay, fire the torpedo.
My 5 words were guess who's coming to dinner. # Brave New World. And yes, no, I'm on the same page as Shah here. This is it's just so good. Between the napkins, the little bit of business they do with the napkins, and you've got the Shakespeare and the Romulan ale and Christopher Plummer, eating the scenery as well as the food. You've got Spock answering for Kirk. what was the other one I wrote down? The Homo sapiens only club.
Yes, that was it. Yes,
That's a good burn. And, their reaction at the end once they beam off. I mean, look, say what you want, Jim, about the search for boots, and I know you do. This is one of the greatest scenes in Star Trek history, and I'm right there with Char. This had to be on my list. So, if we're gonna fire the torpedoes anywhere at a table, this is the one to do it.
It was the perfect one for a duplicate. This is absolutely iconic. I mean, listen, there's so many great. People know I have a problem with the search for boots, but all the stuff with Chang is a 10+ in this film. I mean,
totally.
It is so good, incredible, fantastic. All right, so we have our first duplicate. Let's close out the soup round. Sorry, everybody, I'm doing it again. I know I'm doing it just one more time. 5 words in a hashtag. Developed an affinity for Earth. Hashtag. You did a good job of hiding it. And it is from Star Trek Enterprise, Season 4, Episode 8, Awakening. And it's this incredible scene between Trip and Soval as they stand at the Situation Room tactical display table. And they talk about all the stuff that's going on, and Soval is trying to help them in this battle with the Vulcans, trying to derail their investigation on the embassy explosion. And it's just an amazing scene. And Trip, turns to Soval, who's been a foil and a thorn in everyone's side for 3.5, 4 seasons, and he just says, I never got the impression that you cared that much about humans. Why are you doing this? Why are you helping us? And Soval says, I lived on Earth for more than 30 years, Commander. In that time, I developed an affinity for your world and its people. And Trip says, you did a pretty good job of hiding it. And Soval says, thank you. And I love this moment. And of course, it's an iconic scene. Of course, one of the reasons I love it is because I was standing right there while they filmed it. It was in the first scene that I was on the set for, and it was just amazing to see it happening and unfolding, and just how everything was working. And by the way, I love the Situation Room behind the Enterprise NX-01 bridge. It's such a cool little space to shoot and put some action into, and just get some tangible, visceral stuff where they can work buttons and look at the table. Just a great spot for scenes. And so that's what I'm picking. Awakening. Jamie, what's your take on me picking Awakening for the 7th time on TrekRanks? Sorry,
I did not write this down on my list of secondary systems as Jim will pick this, but I'm delighted that you have, and that's awesome. And the fact that you were right there watching the scene, no wonder when you go, let's do scenes at a table, something tweaked in the back of your mind, and you're like, I am going to pick this because it has a special meaning for you. But the thing I just want to mention about it is it's a great moment in what Enterprise is actually all about, in my opinion, to a certain extent, which is the relationship between the Vulcans and the humans over that period of time. And the show gets some criticism about that relationship, but it plays out well in the long run of the show, and I think that's a crucial key moment of understanding how that relationship changed, and in fact what the Vulcans are really trying to do through that whole period.
Yeah,
so,
this is
great moment.
It's the scene where that axis flips to the other side, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, these are the Vulcans. Charlynn, what's your take on this one?
Yeah, kind of stole the words right out of my mouth. This kind of brings that big arc of relations between humans and Vulcans full circle right here in this scene. Yeah. That's pretty cool. And the fact that you were there, Jim, that's also pretty cool. I'm surprised, though, that it's not your number one for that reason.
Well, it's not. I love my top 2 picks are amazing, as I'm sure your guys' are. I will say, I think I would have picked this even if I wasn't there. I just love this moment. It really is a great Star Trek moment.
Why are you doing this? I never got the impression you cared that much about humans. Seems like you were always finding something new to complain about.
I lived on Earth for more than 30 years, Commander. In that time, I developed an affinity for your world and its people.
You did a pretty good job of hiding it.
Thank you.
It plays in so well as Saval's character and Trip's character. Like, you did a pretty good job of hiding it. It's a great line.
It is.
It's kind of an insult, but but it's also not. So anyway, great stuff. Okay, round.
Thank you is a good rejoinder because it's kind of an insult, but not quite, right?
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. True, because he is hiding it. Exactly. Okay, round 2. Shar, what do you got?
Okay. Well, I didn't make a rule about no gambling scenes. So here we go.
Good. We need some of those.
Got to have one at the very least. The 5 words are 5-card stud, nothing wild. # sky's the limit. It's TNG, the very end of All Good Things, where Picard joins the crew for a game of poker.
Fantastic. Definitely on my
Does this need an explanation?
No. Is everybody familiar with this scene? Everybody?
I would hope so.
All right.
If you haven't, go watch All Good Things. My goodness. Yes.
I mean, it's not only a great scene. This is the final scene of TNG. And yes, we're going to be getting some more of this crew in a few months. But this is as good as it... it's
as good as it gets, man.
It really
right?
is.
Well, immediately, one of my thought patterns when coming up with my list was, okay, there's got to be some TNG poker scene, and there's many of them, many good ones to choose from, but this had to be the one just because of the way the camera pans upward, leaving us behind, and the emotion is just so high at that point, concluding the whole show. You can't top that.
You really can't. It's the greatest series finale episode ever. There's no arguing it. And this final 5 minutes, you can't do it any better. It's perfection. Jamie, what's your take?
My take is that in round 2, we've had 2 number 1 picks. And I'm trying to work out what could Char's number 1 possibly be that could top one of the greatest, one of the greatest scenes in Trek. So, okay, we said no gambling scenes, but if we were gambling people, would we bet on seeing a poker scene in season 3 of Picard?
Oh my God, I love.
I hope so.
What do you think? I think they might do. That's my suspicion is we might see something, because I just can't believe Terry Matalas won't tip. Maybe just do a tip of the hat in some way, shape, or form to that, or they will leave it alone entirely because that scene doesn't need any callbacks. It stands on its own. It says everything you need to say about the family that show became after 7 years, and to have all of those characters there and Picard join them. I mean, maybe it doesn't actually. I don't know.
My mind is racing.
Do I want it to be acknowledged, or do I want it to be left alone? I don't know, and I can't wait to find out what happens.
Yeah, my mind is racing, thinking about how cool would it be if they're having a poker game and Picard's just there, and now he has been now, since that moment. I know they've had some falling outs and they've gone their separate ways, based on what we've seen in Picard season 1 and 2. But it would be pretty cool if it's just matter of fact that Picard's there now and they're just still going. Yeah, fascinating. All right, we digress, but that's a great. Great thing to think about. Awesome pick. Iconic moment. I am loving your list, Charlynn.
Oh, thank you.
Jamie, what's your round 2 pick?
Okay, I'm staying with TNG, and this is my quintessential briefing room conversation. So this is Trek at its absolute best, are my 5 words. # the most human thing. And it is TNG's equality of life. And it is the discussion around the table about whether the exocomps possess a concept of self-preservation and whether they are sentient or not. And Data's argument...
Fuck you, peanut hamper. Go. Keep going.
And I was...
It's changed everything for me. This whole scene has changed.
Peanut hamper changed it all.
My first thought is how moving this scene is, how great it is. I can't wait to hear you talk about it, Jamie. But then my second thought is, man... peanut hamper.
Look, I would lie if I wasn't to say that I'm picking this partly because if it wasn't for this episode, we wouldn't have Peanut Hamper and your favorite episode of the franchise to date.
So good.
But having said that, I think this must be Mike McMahon's favorite episode of Trek. I think because also in the recently we had the lower decks call out, where they have the race and they have to stop to check whether the dust is sentient or something like that.
Right.
Yep.
There's this brilliant moment, and it all comes from equality of life. And putting all of the jokes and whatever Mike McMahon has done for this episode aside, there is just a great 3-minute scene of people talking about whether or not an entity is sentient and whether or not we can abuse it or treat it with respect. And, it's something we don't see a lot of in television necessarily, where people are just sitting around discussing ideas. It's well shot, it's captivating, it's intelligent, and it's meaningful. And I like it. So there you go.
It's perfect.
Quality of life.
This is the kind of deep cut pick I was hoping we'd get a few of. And this is just a great conference room scene. It's just they're having a conversation, and it's challenging, and it's interesting, and it's Star Trek. I mean, this is an awesome pick, and it's actually a really underrated episode. It's a really, really cool, smart episode. Charlynn, what's your take on a quality of life?
This is a quintessential TNG moment where they're in the conference room and they're talking it out and they're discussing higher concepts. I mean, if you needed to describe the show, you could just say that and you could get that point across. I love it when they have just the talky moments, and TNG really excelled when they did that. And you know what? Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Peanut Hamper either because of the way things turned out, but that's on her, not on the other exocomps.
So true. Get over it, Moorhouse. I really just did that for effect because it's fun. I love exocomps. They are like, I always say this, they're like the robot kittens of space. I love that. They're just like big kitty cats. Awesome pick, Jamie. I love it. That's a great deep cut. Okay. This is probably another little bit of a deep cut. I love this one. And it does meet my Prime Directive because they don't have a meal. They just have beer and pretzels. So here we go. 5 words and a hashtag. NX program not starting over. Hashtag Archer and Trip plot to save Star Trek. It is Enterprise Season 2 First Flight. And it's a 2-for-1 back-to-back scenes at the 602 Club after the NX Alpha has blown up. And you've got art. This is amazing. This is everything that happens in these 2 little quick back-to-back scenes. First, Archer and Trip are introduced for the first time. They sit down at this table in the 602 Club with a beer, and Trip introduces himself to Archer. They had talked before, but he's basically telling him his name. Admiral Forrest then shows up to tell Archer that the NX program is on hold. They're going to have to build a new engine from scratch. Archer, of course, is defending the NX engine, and Trip wants to speak freely and give a piece of his mind. Forrest leaves. They kind of fade out. They come back in, and A.G. Robinson shows up, the guy who blew up the ship because of his pilot error. They're at the same table. He sits down, and he's pissed. He's talking about his briefing all day, getting grilled by Vulcans, telling them about it. And basically, Archer and Trip are like, because you ruled out pilot error, you handed the Vulcans exactly what they want, to slow us down. And Trip just keeps saying, we need more time to balance the intermix chamber. Just need more time to balance the intermix chamber. And then Robinson finally insults the engine, saying it's a lemon. And Archer and Robinson fight, bar fight. I love it. Bacula versus Carradine. Really, this should have been my number one. This is an amazing, amazing back-to-back scenes.
The Vulcans have been leaning on Starfleet for years to rein in this program. You walked in there today, ruled out pilot error, and told them just what they wanted to hear. Our engine doesn't work.
Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, Archer, but it doesn't work.
The engine's sound. We just need more time to balance the intermix.
We need more than time.
I agree. We need a pilot who listens to orders. If you'd aborted, we'd still have a ship. And probably another chance.
Another chance to what? Get killed?
At the first sign of trouble, you should have throttled down.
It wouldn't have made a damn bit of difference.
I guess we'll never find out.
You weren't in that cockpit.
There's nothing wrong with that ship.
There's plenty wrong. You just refused to see it.
What the hell's that supposed to mean?
Every time there's a problem with this project, you blame it on pilot error or gravitational anomalies or some technical malfunction. Well, you're going to have to face the truth this time, because there's nothing left to point a finger at. Your father designed a lousy engine.
Everything you could want in Star Trek. I love this episode. I love these 2 scenes at a table in the 602 Club. Jamie, what's your take?
Plot to save Star Trek, you say? Yes. This is a great scene. Unforgettable. Star Trek does the right stuff, right? This is the bit of who doesn't. what do I want to say about this? It brings in a little bit of the old TOS feeling of there's nothing better than a good old bar fight necessarily, you know, which sometimes modern Trek missed that little bit of joie de vivre of the original series, I think, a little bit, perhaps too much sitting around conference rooms talking about stuff and not enough just putting a right-hander on, you know, where it needs to go. So there was a little bit of the spirit of the original series in this as well, which I loved, and Archer playing that kind of role. So great scene, totally love the pick, and
it's our second bar fight, because Char, you had a bar fight, or the remnants.
Well, yeah, bar fight
exactly.
after the
mine's
fact.
before, and yours is
post bar fight. Bar fight adjacent, yes, again.
Yeah. And honestly, this list needs a bar fight. I'm so glad that this made it onto your list, Jim. And it's a great Enterprise moment.
Yep.
I was thinking a lot about Enterprise when constructing my list. A lot of the scenes that I thought of were at the dinner table.
Right.
You know, where Archer and Trip and T'Pol are doing their thing. I did not think of the 602 Club.
How funny that I didn't think about all the different scenes in Archer's mess. That would have been awesome picks too. That's great. Well, I ruled out meals, but yeah.
Well, there you go.
Between the bar fights and my picks, I got to say, we've destroyed a lot of tables tonight.
Yes, so far. That's right. We have, we'll reveal in the stats. So currently we have 3 bars, and I guess there are 3 bar fights because Worf, that's a fight in the bar. It's just between him and the table. Okay, round.
The table loses.
Yes, it does. Round 1.
Begin round 1.
Char, what's your number 1 pick?
Okay, this is a personal favorite. That's why it's number 1. My 5 words are, Guinan, I need your help. Hashtag shut up, kid. It's TNG, the Dolphin, where Riker teaches, quote unquote, Wesley Crusher how to talk to women with the help of Guinan.
This is a great pick. I love it.
It's a fantastic scene, brilliantly acted by Jonathan Frakes and Whoopi Goldberg. They just start going at it, leaving you to wonder, man, did these characters actually hook up after this? Because it was hot and heavy.
It's so good. It's so well written. It's so well acted. I mean, it's so believable. I absolutely love it. I'm looking it up because this is why we do these topics. This is the first time the Dauphine has been picked on TrekRanks. Well done,
wow.
Char. It's totally deserving. A phenomenal scene at a table. Jamie, what's your take?
I love me some Wesley Crusher, despite what everyone says. So and this is such a great scene in a pretty good episode. A little bit of a coming of age kind of episode for Wesley, and this particular scene steals the episode, right? And Whoopi. The other thing is, Frakes sometimes I think doesn't get the props for how good an actual actor he is, because he's part of the franchise and he's been such a good director, and I kind of feel that the actual acting side of things he doesn't get as much credit as he needs to for playing, a little bit of a straight man in some ways, but in some scenes, but then being able to turn on something like the charm when it is needed, and of course being the resident lady killer of sorts on the show. So love this pick. This is an amazing pick, and Whoopi Goldberg and Jonathan Frakes going toe to toe. How good.
It's so good. I think one of the reasons that happens with Frakes is because of that first season, right? It took that first season. It wasn't really Frakes. He was going against his type, and you could just see the struggle. And then once he was freed in season 2, but
once he was allowed to get the glint in his eye,
exactly,
then he was
that little gleam, that little snark. But I think people, they kind of, I don't know, for some reason, I think that first season, I don't know, just it weighs on him a little bit in people's perceptions, incorrectly, obviously. Okay, let's do it. What's your round 1 pick, Jamie?
Okay, also a personal pick, this one for me. Number 1, my 5 words are better if it were blue, hashtag gods don't make mistakes. And it is the conversation between Weyoun and Kira about Zial's painting and about whether or not they will save, whether or not Nog will be saved from Favor the Bold. It's a scene in the DS9 briefing room where Wei-Yun is examining a painting which is on the table, and he's looking at it very closely, and we discover that the Vorta are not imbued by their makers with any kind of sense of aesthetics, and there is just a great conversation with just kind of crackling with tension between Kira and Wei-Yun, and where they are casually discussing both the painting but also Rom's execution at the same time. And you've got Kira, who would like nothing better than to see Wei-Yun blown out an airlock and having to deal with him as part of the provisional government that's the kind of Vichy government that's there, with the Dominion taking over the station. And you just have this fascinating conversation about Rom, what the Dominion will allow, what it won't, and meanwhile Wei-Yun is kind of casually discussing about how he can't carry a tune, and it's just this classic moment, a brilliant Ira Bear and Hans Beimler script, where you really get the sense of the cold, calculating nature of Wei-Yun, who occasionally is played for laughs, kind of, but in this scene you really get a sense of exactly the stakes and where Rom is positioned and where Kira is positioned, and it's all done around this table. And the key piece being the painting of Zial's painting on the table. And anyway, I just love that scene, and it's a great piece of a great show. So a great episode. So there you go. That's my number one pick.
Yeah, crackling with tension is the perfect way to break it down. This is what Deep Space Nine does so well. It's just this innocuous scene that has so much else going on. And it's this is why it's just so riveting. You just said it all. I'm not going to rehash it, but all the subtext of this scene is amazing while they just talk about Zial's art. It's perfect. This is why Deep Space Nine is so good. Any quick take, Charlynn, on Favor the Bold and this amazing scene with Kira and Wei-Yun?
Oh, golly. I don't know if I have anything original to add. I mean, you pretty much covered it. It's a brilliant scene. That the tension, it's perfect the way it's written and executed.
Yeah.
Just really top notch. And that's saying a lot for DS9, where they really excel at this sort of thing. They're great.
Yeah. So they know how to do subtlety and subtext. And this is why this topic is so awesome, because we have such an array of interesting picks and angles to look at, Trek.
Yeah, I'm sorry I don't have a happier one for number one, but when Wei-Yun points at the painting and says, Major, would this be better if it were blue?
So good.
We'll see what the Bajoran government has to say about that.
I'm afraid their pleas will fall on deaf ears. Major, would this be more aesthetically pleasing if it were blue?
My blood curdles a little bit, and it's an amazing moment. Anyway,
don't worry, Char's pick makes up for your dour.
Thanks.
Char's is filled with life. It's so great. And mine's kind of right in the middle, I think, a little bit. Mostly positive. I love my number one pick. Here we go. 5 words and a hashtag. Altar Stone inspires eternal stories. Hashtag. B'Elanna Torres ascends to the heavens. It's Voyager Season 6 Muse. And before you start thinking, well, what's the table here? So I was thinking, for some reason, Muse kept popping in my head as a possible scene to the table, because I was thinking about Kellis, the poet. He's working on his plays, and they're all kind of sitting around that stone table in the back. And then I remember that they called the centerpiece of the stage the altar stone. And I looked up the word altar, and boom, it's a table or place which serves as a center of worship or ritual. And that's what they have in the middle of their set, is the altar stone. And there's a moment when Kellis describes that they used to sacrifice victims on that altar stone 100 years ago, every year, to the gods of winter. And it was a play that the words that changed people's perceptions and changed it. Now this became a place of stories and inspiration. And Muse is just an awesome episode to begin with. But I jumped into a rewatch of it, and it's number 52 on TrekRanks for me. I need to move it up higher. It needs to be higher. This episode is just an amazing meta story about how words and popular entertainment, aka Star Trek, can make the world a better place and change people's minds and alter behaviors. And I just love that. And there's all this meta fun stuff too, with struggling writer trying to impress his fans, and there's there's meta commentary I noticed for the first time on modern day audiences needing twists and excitement. You can't just tell them kind of a straight story. It has to have all these hooks and winks. And so really there's a bunch of scenes that happen. There's the rescue of B'Elanna Torres. There's Kellis chastising an actor for portraying a Vulcan with emotion. Janeway and Chakotay sharing a kiss and a touch. The two actors portraying them. This is it. Jay Sears, it's there for you in Muse. Janeway and Chakotay kiss.
Yeah, but is it? Is it?
Well, Torres is like, what are you doing, dude? They're not going to kiss.
Exactly.
So all these things take place at the Altar Stone. And so if I had to choose one scene, I would choose the one at the end where Janeway and 7 actors are kind of announcing to the audience their ulterior motives to each other. It's just amazing. Roxanne Dawson's performance is fantastic. This is another Joe Menosky script. The guy's a legend. Muse, Jamie, what's your take on this one?
Wow. I love this. It's a great episode. And I'm wondering, just putting it out there, did this come to your mind a little bit because of the similarity with All the World's a Stage? The recent Prodigy episode that has the same kind of premise, where the actors are doing that. Did.
I don't know, but I started brainstorming on this. For some reason, Muse was in my head because I was thinking about all those scenes where they're trying to write and they're at a table. But yeah, maybe there's definitely a shared DNA between All the World's a Stage and Muse.
Because when I saw that episode of Prodigy, which I'm loving, by the way, Prodigy, how good. I remember thinking about Muse because it's a similar kind of premise, and they but obviously different outcrops of plot from the two shows. But yes, great pick. I love how you've worked the table in as the Altar Stone, and no, this is great.
I thought it was going to be a stretch, but when I looked up the word altar, I was like, wow, it literally says at the table. Couldn't believe it.
And of course, with Kellis being really an eternal and a god in the saga, I mean, this is what a great pick for a number one. I love this episode. It's a great episode. Good show for B'Elanna, who didn't always get the best material throughout the whole show, and this was one of her best episodes. I thought,
for sure. Charlynn, we got Voyager on the board here.
Yeah, you do. I love your train of logic for this one with the altar, the table. And with that, it deserves to be a number one pick because it's at the heart of everything. Like the table is center stage. So that's about as good as it gets for a table, except for maybe a bar fight. And that's why it's got to be a number one.
I love it. And the dichotomy between the fact that they used to sacrifice people on it, and now it's, the center stage for their plays, and he's just trying to change the mind of his Archon or whatever that guy was called. I can't remember. But anyway, okay, that's 15 amazing picks. What a fantastic topic. Let's get into some secondary systems picks. I've got a few.
Let's see what you can do with the secondary systems.
Charlynn, what do you got? Any you want to rattle off?
Boy, yeah, I do. I'll go for the biggest ones that were like I kept on my list for a long time and cut them at the last minute. So notice that I did not have any Voyager in my top 5.
I was just going to say that. I just noticed. Wow.
Unfortunately, Voyager got relegated to the secondary systems. But one that I have is from Timeless, where Janeway and Chakotay sit to a candlelight dinner and discuss the slipstream flight the night before. Like that flight, like it's full of promise, anticipation. It's downright seductive. Lots of Janeway and Chakotay subtext. I mean, what's not to love about that? I've also got from Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home, Kirk and Jillian at the pizzeria.
Oh, that's good. Yep.
Enterprise: Broken Bow, the first dinner scene where T'Pol eats a breadstick with a knife and fork because they don't eat with their hands.
It's the first one I thought of when that came up. Yes, that's good.
Yeah, that was my top Enterprise pick, and unfortunately, it did not get on the list, but it's in the secondary. So there we go. And then finally, I'll cap it off with
Jim. You're gonna have to do eating. Like scenes of eating or something like that, based on all these picks.
At some point, there'll be meals, but we'll have to spread it out. But all right, what was your last one? What was your last one, Shar?
My last one is from Year of Hell Part 2, and it's where Anorax, Tom Paris, and Chakotay dine from foods of civilizations lost to Anorax's actions.
Oh my God, what an asshole! Anorax.
Kurtwood Smith is beautiful, though.
I know he is, but when you boil it down, it's like, oh, Anorax, you suck, dude.
Oh
Come
yeah, Anorax sucks. But Kurtwood Smith, he does an impressive job. Like Anorax is not necessarily proud of destroying all these worlds, but he isn't flippant about it either. Nor does he regret it.
Yeah, he ain't gonna stop.
It's a means to an end for him, and he carried that weight very well.
Yes, awesome. Those are great picks. Jamie, rattle off a few.
Okay, I got a few here. I also had Return to Tomorrow, of course. Jim will pick this next to it. Then I've got TNG Spot jumping onto the table repeatedly, the gag.
That's a good one.
A bunch of episodes.
Yes.
Where he's kind of training Spot to be on the table or down and then up and then down and that kind of stuff. There's a few episodes where that kind of joke is played. I thought we might get a Moorhouse pick of Stratagema.
I know. I decided not to do games, but yeah.
Games, that's right. Okay, no games. Let's see.
Because we're for sure doing games or card tables.
Okay.
At some point.
Got it. I had, I was talking about peace treaties and signing. So I had on my list the signing of peace at the end of the show, ending the Dominion War in the DS9 boardroom.
That's a good one.
And a flip side for that, I had Rapture, where Sisko comes in and stops the signing of Bajor joining the Federation. I thought that would be an interesting one as well.
Ooh.
That's good. Well, I'm going to throw in really quick because I had in the boardroom the first scene from When It Rains, when Sisko, Ross, O'Brien, Martok, and the Romulan are there, and they're discussing the new strategy of how they're going to finish this war. To fight the dampening weapon from the brain. That's a really good scene too. And the boardroom's got a lot of good ones on Deep Space.
Yeah, they got a lot of important ones given the war.
Yeah.
From the sublime to the ridiculous, a before Me Too era pick is the scene around the Voyager briefing room where the Doctor is hallucinating all of the women finding him attractive. It is.
Oh God.
It is specifically around the table, and I do not think that would get made in 2022. Anyway, moving on. The one I for sure thought would be picked would be Nepenthe from Picard, the dining scene with everyone eating their pizza.
Yeah.
I love that.
I thought that was going to get picked, so I didn't go with it. But if we're going to have scenes of eating later on, then that's all good.
That's one of my favorites because it's a Picard series deconstruction of the observation lounge, right? It's exactly the same kind of scene, except they're at Riker's dinner table and they're all eating pizza, but it's basically an observation lounge scene from TNG.
Yes, that is a genius scene. Last one for me
is for secondary systems would be the scene recently. Now, I don't know the episodes well enough to know their names currently from Strange New Worlds, but the scene where Pike is negotiating with the empathetic race across the...
That's Spock Amok.
Spock Amok. Of course it is. Yes,
it's so good. The Rongovians. Oh my God, so good.
I love that scene and that whole piece. So anyway, that made my secondary systems as well.
That whole payoff is incredible. Love it. Okay, so I had a few more. My toughest cut, I didn't want to do dinner scene, so I cut it, was the scene with Khan in Space Seed. I love that moment when they're just Spock and they're just all playing each other with attention. And Khan says, "You're an excellent tactician, Captain. You let your second in command attack while you sit and watch for weakness." I love it. We offered the world order. Love it. Okay. Loud as a Whisper, the three-sided negotiation table. Someone picked that last week when we previewed this episode, so that was definitely one that I was thinking of. Mirror, Mirror, McCoy's acid spill on his table is a key plot point. When he points and says, nope, not everything. I spilled acid there on that table a year ago. What in blazes is this, Jim? I had Parallax when Janeway and when they're trying to kind of solve their engineering problem, and Torres really impresses Janeway in the briefing room scene.
Warp particles.
Yeah. Yes, warp particles. That's the one. And it's a great one because at the end everyone leaves, and then Chakotay looks and Janeway gives her a little nod, gives him a nod, yep, she's going to be the one. And then my special shout out is to Schisms. It's not a table, guys. That's not a table. That's a chair. Okay, that's a chair. And that's an iconic Star Trek moment in Schisms, to say the least. All right, scenes in Trek never disappoints. I love it. But now it's time to get into our regeneration cycle and go through some stats and recap our picks.
Computer, activate regeneration cycle. Alcoves beta and gamma.
Okay, Sean, recap your list of non-Voyager scenes at a table.
Okay. Number 5 was from Strange New Worlds, Children of the Comet, getting to know Cadet Uhura. Number 4, Star Trek 2009, where Pike recruits Kirk at the bar. Number 3 was from Star Trek 6, The Dinner with the Klingons. And let's see, number 2 is TNG's All Good Things, poker game at the very end. And number 1 was TNG, The Dauphine, Riker teaching Wesley how to talk to women and flirting with Guinan.
A spectacular number 1. So you had 2 from TNG, 1 from Strange New Worlds, The Kelvin Timeline, and TOS, and you had 2 films. So, I love it, which means you also had a 2-parter. So you had 8 hours of Trek in your 5 picks. That's spectacular. Nice. Jamie, rattle off your 5.
My number 5 was DS9 Image in the Sand, Worf's grief over the loss of Dax. Number 4 is Voyager's alliances and the "it's a trap" trope. Number 3 is, of course, Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Number 2 is TNG's A Quality of Life and the introduction of the exocomps into canon, for which we are forever grateful. And number 1 is from DS9, Favor the Bold, the scene between Wei-Yun and Kira about Zial's painting.
Fantastic. You had 2 from Deep Space Nine, and then 1 each from TOS, TNG, and Voyager. And my top 5, number 5 was Return to Tomorrow and Kirk's speech about taking Sargon up on his offer, the defining Star Trek speech in TOS. Number 4 was The Defector and the scene in the observation lounge where Picard and they were kind of grilling and not believing Admiral Jarrock at the beginning of that episode. Number 3 was Awakening, Star Trek Enterprise, Trip and Saval get to know each other. Round 2 was First Flight from Enterprise, amazing moment with Archer, Trip, and A.G. Robinson. And my number 1 was The Altar of Stone from Voyager episode Muse. Just a awesome episode. All right, so I had 2 from Enterprise, 1 from TOS, 1 from TNG, and 1 from Voyager. So our quick statistical recap, we had 3 bar fights and 3 bars. And then we had 3 meals. So there's 3 extensive meals. And there was only 1 kind of game or card game. So that was the All Good Things pick. So I thought there might be more of those. We're definitely going to do games, top 5 games at some point on Trek Ranks. Okay, and our breakdown of series. Good, man, we spread it around. So of the new series, it was just Strange New Worlds had 1 pick. Then there was 1 Kelvin Timeline pick. And then we had 2 each from Enterprise, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine, 3 from TOS and 4 from TNG leading the way. And overall, there was 3 films picked. Really, really good breakdown. I love it. But as we do every week, we've been hit by a temporal distortion. So before we can depart, it's time to hear from you.
The temporal distortions are fracturing space-time throughout the ship. Cause?
Unknown.
Oh, we know the cause, Mr. Tuvok. It's all the amazing feedback we continue to receive from our listeners here at TrekRanks. And this week's temporal distortion has sent us back to episode 141 and our top 5 unjustly accused storylines, which is a fun episode. We got an amazing voicemail from Paul Edinger, who is at CT Trekkie on Twitter. He was our guest on last week's show. And this list of unjustly accused storylines is amazing with a couple of phenomenal and unique picks. So make sure you listen. Here it is.
Hey, TrekRanks. This is Paul. You can find me at CT Trekkie on Twitter. Just wanted to drop my 5 picks for the unjustly accused episode. Just a quick note on my Prime Directive was just to avoid the standard unjustly accused. So no courtroom episodes, no Measure of a Man, no Judgment, no Drumhead. I kind of cheated a little bit on one of them, but that is what TrekRanks is about, right? Anyway, so just to go quick, my number 5 pick was Nemesis from Voyager, the unjustly accused being the Kraden. I really liked this one, and this was the first one I thought of because it's one of the few times we get to see a really good Chakotay episode, in my opinion. And it kind of puts into focus the fact that even Star Trek sometimes automatically goes with the creepier looking guys are the bad ones. So this was a nice kind of reversal from that trope that we see even in Star Trek sometimes too often. Number 4 was The Ascent. This is just, the classic Quark Odo episode, and I absolutely love that Odo spends the first half of the episode smugly accusing Quark of being a member of the Orion Syndicate and asserting that he's going to prison forever, and only to find out that not only is Quark not going to prison forever, but he's actually cooperating with the authorities to help send other people to prison. I mean, there's really nothing bad to say about this episode. My number 3 pick is Ensign Rowe. Now, what I like about this is there's a story there. And what I don't like about it is we never got to see it. But the whole incident that had her court-martialed and sent to prison and was the reason everyone on the Enterprise distrusted and disliked her as soon as she got there, there is some implications in that episode, in her conversation with Guinan, that maybe she didn't deserve that. That maybe there was a cover-up. Maybe there was something more to the story that we don't know about. And it's always disappointed me that we never got to hear that. Number 2 is The Communicator from Enterprise. And this is Reed and Archer being unjustly accused of being enemy spies, when in reality they're just explorers. And what I really love about this one, and one of the most underrated episodes, in my opinion, of Enterprise, is that it kind of showcases Archer's ethics. And not just Archer's, Reed's as well. They could have very easily gotten themselves out of that by telling them the truth. They could have proved it a million different ways with really not a lot of effort, but instead they were ready to allow themselves to be hanged rather than affect this society. And I really like that. Number 1 is Keiko O'Brien, who has spent 30 years being unjustly accused by fans of Star Trek of being a terrible character. She is, in my opinion, the most unfairly maligned character in Star Trek, a franchise filled with unfairly maligned characters. I mean, I know you've talked about it on TrekRanks before, but Keiko O'Brien is absolutely awesome. Very underrated secondary character in Deep Space Nine and a little bit in Next Generation as well. So that's it. Thanks for having me.
Amazing list from Paul. I love his number 3 pick of Ensign Rowe being unjustly accused of maybe what happened at Garon 2, that incident, because it seems like there's more to that story, and she basically kept quiet to protect some people and got blamed for it. So awesome list from Paul. I love it. So once again, those picks more than enough to clear ourselves from this week's temporal distortion. So as always, I want to thank everyone for all your great responses to the TrekRanks podcast. Keep your list coming to me at TrekRanks on Twitter so we can retweet them, but we also want to hear from you. So put together your own list of top 5 scenes at a table or a list from any of our past shows, give us a call at the Tricorder Transmissions at 609-512-5527. That's 609-512-LLAP. So hopefully we'll hear from you so you can be featured on the next episode of TrekRanks. And on the next episode of TrekRanks, it's a special one. It's episode number 150 of TrekRanks. It is coming out during the holiday season here in 2022. So we're going to do a very unique, off-the-cuff topic for the first time on TrekRanks. It's TrekRanks Potpourri. And we're going to show you exactly what that show is going to be like right now with Shar and Jamie. So we're going to have a random episode generator set up for all of TrekRanks' previous topics. And
wow.
Each pick in each round, for each guest, they're going to get a topic on the fly from one of our past shows. They got to come up with one pick, and they have to come up with their 5 words and a hashtag on the spot. Here we go.
No pressure.
And Jamie, we're going to give TrekRanks Potpourri an experimental test flight right now with the NX episode generator.
All right, let's go.
Okay, Shar, your episode is number 72. Top 5 Borg episodes. Pick one. What do you got?
Okay, you got to go with the very end of Best of Both Worlds, Part 1. If you were there at the time, you know that was the longest summer ever. That's my pick.
Perfect. Okay, 5 words and a hashtag.
5 words. I am Locutus of Borg. And then, hashtag resistance is futile. There, done.
There you go. I am Locutus of Borg. Resistance is futile. See, this is going to be fantastic. Okay, get ready. Get ready. Here we go. Jamie, you got episode number 44, the top 5 wisest characters.
Oh my gosh.
That's a deep cut one. That was a deep cut.
Top 5 wisest characters. Holy mackerel. Can I go a bit weird? Can I go Zephram Cochrane in the future? A wise.
Wait, which future? Metamorphosis future or Broken Bow? Future?
Sorry, as in from First Contact, where LaForge tells himself about his own wise quote from the future in Star Trek First Contact.
Okay, I like it.
So
that's awesome.
So 5 words would be wise words from the future. Hashtag just be a man. Is that the right?
Don't try to be a great man. Just be a man.
Just be a man.
There you go. Just be a man. Hashtag just be a man.
This is going to work. It's going to be awesome. Episode 150, TrekRanks Potpourri. It's coming soon. I love this. All right. A huge thanks to Charlynn Schmiedt and Jamie McGregor, 2 of my absolute favorites.
I was wondering if you could show me how to access these subspace communications logs.
And we're going to do that right now, Neelix. So any final Trek subspace communications either one of you want to relay before we depart? Char.
Not a whole heck of a lot. You got my contact info at the top of the show. Just thank you very much for having me back, Jim. It's always a blast.
I love it. Thank you, Shar. And Jamie, thanks for coming on from the future in the Australian corridor.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Shar, for being part of this. Thank you for the invitation. Always love to be on TrekRanks and love it. And I hope we have another 150 episodes in the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? All right. Thanks, everyone, for engaging with us here on episode 149 of the TrekRanks podcast. As always, I want to close by saying I'm looking forward to standing with you again here in this place where I belong.
You understand what the Federation is, don't you? It's important. It's a peacekeeping and humanitarian armada.
We done?
I'm done. Riverside Shipyard. Shuttle for new recruits leaves tomorrow, 0800. Your father was captain of a starship for 12 minutes. He saved 800 lives, including your mother's. And yours. I dare you to do better.
Just want to remind everyone again that the entire TrekRanks catalog is available for you to download and listen to at TrekRanks.com and on your podcast player of choice. Our episodes never get carbon dated, so check out the topics you've missed and maybe just want to listen to again over at TrekRanks.com. And a reminder to check out our friends 5-Year Mission at 5yearmission.net. They're writing a song for every episode of Star Trek, and you won't believe how great their music is. They also have a podcast at the Trek Geeks Network, so seek them out. You won't regret it.
You are the most beautiful woman in the galaxy. But that might not work.
Yes, it would.
You don't know how long I've wanted to tell you that.
But you're afraid.
Yes.
Of me?
Of us, of what we might become.
Commander?
Or that you might think that was a lie.
Maybe I do think it's a lie.
Can you think I'm not sincere?
I didn't say that. There's nothing wrong with the line. It's like a knock at the door.
Then you're inviting me in.
I'm not sending you away.
That's more than I expected.
Is it as much as you hoped?
To hope is to recognize the possibility. I had only dreams.
Dreams can be dangerous.
Not these dreams. I dream of a galaxy where your eyes are the stars and the universe worships the night.
Careful. Putting me on a pedestal so high you may not be able to reach me.
Then I'll learn how to fly. You are the heart in my day and the soul in my night.
I don't think this is my style. Shut up, kid. Tell me more about my eyes.